Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing your valuable time with us. It means a lot. My name is Ines Envid. I'm a product manager with Google Cloud in networking, and I will be sharing the stage with Yuri and with Vineet. So we wanted to spend some time in this next to share with you what are the progresses that we've made in terms of network telemetry and security telemetry, and give you an overview on how you can, as a customer or as a partner, can utilize the visibility tools that we are providing with the cloud. So as you are moving, or as enterprise or customer are moving more of your deployments and applications to the cloud, you are relying on us to, as a platform to provide with the infrastructure that provides you with the underlying networking, with the underlying capabilities. And that comes with, obviously, a lot of responsibility. We need to provide you with the same visibility as you're having for your data center deployment so that you can understand the signals that are meaningful for your deployments and for your applications, and then you can take actions based on that. So in order to provide the visibility, it is important that we are giving you with information either to validate the intent of your deployment so that you know that the latency, the throughput, the patterns of your network are matching your intention, or we need to give you the signals to alert or notify of potential deviation of that intention. And how are we doing that? We, as a platform, are able to provide the networking signals and visibility at the scale. We are providing the visibility without taking a performance impact in your applications, and we're also providing near real-time capabilities so that you can actually see what's happening in your network at almost at the same time that is happening. I'll go into more details on how is that. So for us, as a platform, we are treating really network telemetry and security telemetry as similarly as a big data problem. We are able to scale our infrastructure to provide you that visibility without you having to worry about what it means to your applications. But also, we are ingesting the data in our, for example, BigQuery for big data processing, and the volumes that we are generating, we are in real time being able to export to either your partner tools or BigQuery or PubSub streaming, so that you can integrate with the best way for you to extract the signals. We are adding the capabilities of the telemetry at every path. I'll go in detail on what those paths are and what exactly looks like. But you can see the signals for traffic that is from your public-facing applications, from the internet. If they're sitting behind a load balancer, you will get telemetry associated to that. You also can see the traffic that is in and out every VM instance or a GKE deployment. And you can as well see the traffic that it goes back and forth from our VM instances to the Google managed services, for example, storage or big data analytics like BigQuery or Bigtable. So basically, everything that it's in and out our infrastructure will be able to visualize. So let's go exactly on what are the capabilities. So as I said, we are uniquely positioned to provide the scale and the near real-time capabilities for your deployments. And this is something that we are very proud of. the fact that we are able to provide you with aggregation of the flows that are going on in our network for your deployments, aggregated at 5 seconds. So you will see an aggregated set of logs every 5 seconds, which is, again, almost near real time. We will do that at the scale, so you don't really need to worry about what the throughput is your application and how much data you are generating. We are able to perform the telemetry of those without taking any impact on your applications. And on top of that, we are as well adding annotations to those traffic flows where it is meaningful. Like, for example, if there is a flow from traffic from or to the internet, then we are adding annotations from the autonomous system number or the geolocation of the public IP. So then when you're actually getting the information, you not only get the 5 tuples and what the actual flow look like, but you also see annotations that we as a platform are able to add in those logs so that you can have more information that might be meaningful for those specific traffic paths. All right, so which are the user journeys that we are targeting with our products? So network diagnostics, so that you can have a correlation of what is your application performance and what is the underlying performance of your network. So, for example, you might be interested in what is the specific latency, RTT, or the throughput generated by a specific application, or you might be actually interested in diagnosing why traffic might be succeeding or failing from or to a VM instance. So you're able to go to the fine-grained granularity of a specific endpoint, filter into a specific IP, and get the metrics, latency, RTT, throughput, that are associated to that. We're also going to allow you to see whether a specific connection was allowed or denied by a firewall rule, to see if a specific connection from an application succeed or fail, and why. We're as well targeting network usage and planning so that you can actually validate that the patterns in your network are according to what you will expect. So if you, instead of zooming in to a specific endpoint, you go to a more aggregated level, you can see whether, for example, traffic from application A and application B is going within the same region. It is not going out the internet. You will be able to see what are the traffic that is, for example, exiting internet and what are the geolocations that that traffic is taking. You will be as well able to see what is the traffic that is going through a VPN or through a interconnect to your data center, so that you can understand, and as well you can as well do filter through in your application, so you can see for your different development teams what is the paths and the bandwidth that they are taking, and how the overall distribution of the network looks for your deployments. Finally, we have as well more maybe security-centric use cases. One of them it's the network forensics and audit, so that you are able to log in your deployments what is the traffic or the connections that were allowed or denied by your firewalls, and then you're able to store it for future processing. So you will be able, for example, to ingest it into a storage, come back in the future and see at a specific point in time what exactly was happening in your network, what was the connections that were going on, if you need to provide proof of a specific traffic patterns at a specific point in time, what were the connections that were allowed or denied. You can just store it in storage in GCS, in Google Cloud Storage, and just come back for analysis. And as well, you are able, because we're as well providing the analysis in near real time, you can see security patterns, outliers, that you will be able to visualize if you are concerned about the specific flows exiting, for example, to the internet. You're able to see those signals in real time. Let's talk specifically. So that's all very good. We have a bunch of use cases that we need to solve for, but really, what does it mean? Like, how do I actually, what are the set of tools that I'm going to be using for those? So to start with, and I'm going to start from maybe public-facing to endpoints that are sitting in your VPCs. We are going to provide with internet-facing apps load balancer telemetry. And then you can see the utilization, the usage. You can see the request responses, which codes are certain requests acts with. You can see latency associated to your load balancers, front end, back end. You can as well then go to your endpoints in your VPC, VM instances, your Google Kubernetes Engine nodes. And you can see with VPC flow logs what are the network flows that were coming in and out from a specific VM instances endpoints. And again, it really you're able to get those signals for every path. Firewall logs will allow you to obtain, based on your configuration of logging specific firewall rules, will allow you to get all the attempts. Firewall logs is not a sample functionality. We'll go more into the detail, but it will give you every connection that it was attempted, either allow or deny, by a specific firewall rule in which you have chosen to configure login. And finally, I'll give you a little bit of a teaser of something that we are opening to trusted testers, which is a network topology visualization tool, which it will give you a topology relationship of your applications and deployments, and then metrics and that are associated to specific paths. So it is really getting the data and giving you a little more of a visual view of it. Let's start with load balancer telemetry. So as I said, it works for your HTTP, HTTPS load balancers, TCP SSL proxy, and it is very rich set of metrics. It will give you signals as well at the front end, at the back end. I'll do a little bit of a demo so that you can get a sense of where is the information and how you can actually visualize it. And it gives you latency metrics, throughput metrics, for anything that it's really sitting behind a load balancer public facing. VPC flow logs is something that we've been working very intense in the last year. We went general availability about, I think, maybe a few weeks ago. We are able to provide the throughput and latency in every path. We're doing, again, near real time, which is pretty unique. We provide a lot of information that you can ingest through a Stackdriver export. You don't really need to use a Stackdriver as a login mechanism. The export, it could allow you to go to PubSub or integrate with your SIEM or any partner of your choice. And we really work with and integrate with a lot of partners, so to provide you a variety of different ways of visualize and get your signals. Finally, as I said, we're providing the annotations. One of our customers that have been using VPC flow logs was actually just telling me last week that they were able to log in 120 billion of flows records, and then that they got a speed of processing of their signals in the network over 100 times of what they were able to do before. So we're very excited to provide this the level of scale and speed with VPC flow logs. Firewall logs, it's currently in alpha, and maybe some of you have been already using it. There is a very specific difference between firewall logs and VPC flow logs. Firewall logs is really more security-centric feature, so we are not sampling. We are logging every attempted connection, whether it's denied or allow. And the look and feel and the way you are exporting to your tools are really very similar as the VPC flow logs. And I'll show you a little bit, but you can actually export through Stackdriver. Again, through the export capabilities, you don't really need to use a Stackdriver as a login, but you could choose to do that as well. But you can export directly through PubSub, for example, to the partner of your choice. And we add as well annotations. So specifically, we add the specific configuration of the firewall rule at the point in which the traffic was either allowed or denied, so that you can actually match it up, the action that was taken for the 5 tuple against what that specific firewall rule was looking at the time that action was taken. And as well, we aggregate every 5 seconds. We do that as well for ingress and egress firewall rules. In terms of exporting, I'll already mention a little bit, but we're just using the same mechanism so that you can actually use the same exporting mechanisms for your VPC flow logs, for your firewall logs, and then you configure, you're able to set up filters of what you want to send to either a Stackdriver or what you actually want to send to a storage, maybe for long-term analysis, if you want to keep the data for coming back later, or you can send it to PubSub, or to BigQuery if you want to have your own data processing analysis based on the flow logs. So a lot of choices, and we do not really have any, it is not really mandatory that you ingest into a Stackdriver itself. You can just directly export to where your choice is. And finally, as I mentioned, I want to encourage you to go to a Dev 213 session. We're going to be showing there a little bit more of what we're doing in terms of network topology visualization. And again, we're opening to trusted testers for getting your data into the tool. It looks very similar than if you've seen in the keynote the Stackdriver Istio visualization. It's really the same look and feel, but more from a network perspective, so that you can see aggregated data more at the infrastructure rather than extracting the service visualization. Now, you can as well filter in and out in terms of zooming in specific applications. But for example, you see traffic from and to your data center, from to internet, etc. All right, so with all that, I'm going to do a quick walkthrough. Let's see. Can we switch to demo, please?
Is it on?
It is on.
It's sleeping. Did I get it to wake up?
No. Oh. The connection is not working. Okay.
Yes. Sorry about that.
No worries. Oh, cool. All right. Yay. Got it working. Yeah. Cannot walk out without showing you guys. So cool. All right. So I have configured some load balancer. So you see my shopping site load balancer. You know, it has a global VIP. It is accepting HTTP traffic. Now, I do have certain path rules for my load balancer, and those URLs have been served by different backends. So, for example, I have my browse, which is served by browse backends. Cart is served by cart backends, and each of those as well. Like, for example, if I go down browse backends, they have backends points in Asia, Europe, US. So I'm able to see certain information here of what is the usage and capacity. But if I go to monitoring, then I'm going to be able to see what is the RPS per backend, and something really cool I see is what is the distribution of my traffic being served for specific, the connections from Asia are being served by backends in Asia, connections in North America by my connection in North America, and I can see how many requests per second. Additionally, I can go to Stackdriver, and then I see, I have here, for example, my card backends. I can see a breakdown. For example, by backend zone, I can see what the latency is. I can see the backend latency. I can send the front end round trip time. I can see my request per second for each of the zones. So again, I've done a breakdown per zone. I can, for example, choose match URL. And then I'm going to see my metrics now filtered by the specific URL. So each of them is going to be one URL that is served by a set of backends. So this gives you a little bit of a sense of what we have for load balancer. It's pretty rich set of metrics. For VPC flow logs, for example, I have, I just had it already on the screen, so I don't need to walk through that. But I have in a network, a VPC network, I have specific subnets in different regions, and I have on for US Central subnet, VPC flow logs on for US Central subnet and Europe West. If I click, I'm able to actually edit, say I want to have it on or I want to have it off. It actually also tells me how much of the logs I will be generating, so you can estimate what's going to be the volume associated to the traffic. So now if I look into what the flow logs are actually looking like, you can see, maybe zoom in a little bit. So, sorry, maybe zoom out so you can see more in the screen. You can see that we are generating records. The connection 5 tuple, in this case, the destination IP is a public IP. The source IP is a private IP. I can see the source port and the protocols. And then I can see the destination, it was public IP, so then I can see the ASN and the continent and the country that it was generated. I can see my metrics, so I can see the round-trip time, I can see the number of packets, and then a bunch of annotations related to the instance and the VPCs. So, and actually, it is real-time, as you see, and it's generating a lot of streaming data. So you can see it is really loading all the records. For firewall rules, I have it configured for one firewall, just as an example, allow GCLV. I am accepting traffic from the source ranges and from protocol 80. So now if I actually go to my view, instead of actually checking the VPC flow logs, I check firewall. And then I'm going to see, like for example, if I click this one, I'm going to see the connection that I was allowed, and by which firewall, and actually get the details of what that specific firewall was, again, at the point in time in which this was configured. The source range is what you saw it was configured, and it applies to a set of instances. And again, real time, and it gets updated as the traffic is hitting those firewall rules. Finally, again, I'm just going to show you a little bit of what this is going to look like. We are providing a visualization tool, which is open to trusted servers. And then what you're going to see is in the stack driver topology, you will be able to load the topology of your applications. In this case, I have a load balancer. I do have traffic from specific regions, like for example, if I click here. Sorry, this is. I'm going to be able to see the metrics. So for example, so you can see. Cannot see very well, but you can see the traffic that is generating for a specific path, in this case from Asia to US Central backends in that load balancer. And with that, I'm going to welcome to stage Yuri, who's the tech lead that's behind a lot of the technology that is powering our network telemetry. Please switch back to presentation mode.
Thank you, Ines. Hi. So before I begin, I just wanted to mention that there's going to be a Q&A session after this meeting. And if you'll go to the application of GCP Next, from this session, you should probably see there a link to our Dory, where you can submit and vote on questions. So my name is Yuri. I'm the tech lead for VPC flow logs. And I kind of wanted to give you some engineering background as to how we generate VPC flow logs and what are the methods that we are using. And that's kind of to give you a general feeling as to the capabilities of this tool. So to generate VPC flow logs, we start by sampling connections. We sample packet headers on all connections coming through and from a VM. And by sampling packet headers, we are able to monitor connection behavior over time. If you have on-prem setups, you're probably familiar with tools such as NetFlow and SFlow, which have a very similar approach. So from every packet that we sample, we extract IPs, ports, and protocol in order to uniquely identify a connection. We sample as close to the VM as possible in order to ensure that we are seeing the same IP addresses as specified by the VM. And this ensures us that you will be able to correlate VPC flow logs with other data sources that you might have, for example, if you're running agents on your VM to collect the same type of data. Every 5 seconds, we combine all of the headers that we've seen for each connection, and by keeping track of sequence numbers, we are able to estimate packet count on the connection. By looking at the payload size, we are calculating throughput. And for TCP connections, where enough packets were captured, we are able to correlate seek and nag timestamps to estimate RTT as experienced by the connection. So gathering the information is one thing, but making sure that it's accurate is kind of difficult. So for network monitoring tools, accuracy is of the highest importance. To make sure that we have high accuracy, we try to set our sampling rate to the highest value possible. To do that, we do not just set a constant sampling rate, but we adjust our sampling rate in real time to the highest value possible without exceeding set resources. This sampling rate is being captured per packet to make sure that we are compensating correctly for the packets that we do not see. Furthermore, we then measure the accuracy of our system against a separate disjoint system just to make sure that our pipeline is not only available, but that its accuracy is intact. Although IPs and ports are in the backbone of our reports, it's not necessarily the most useful identifiers for VPC flow logs. Sometimes when you look at connections of VMs, for example, that no longer exist, or you look at IP addresses that do not belong to your network, those are hard to make sense of. In order to tackle that problem, while we process the data in real time, we combine the data with metadata from your project, and we are able to annotate GCP endpoints with VM identifiers, VPC identifiers, and for external endpoints, we are able to annotate geolocation, such as country, city, and region, which enables you to search and filter VPC flow logs by those fields. So for example, if you're interested in seeing traffic between two VMs, you can do that. Or if you're interested in seeing traffic from a certain region to a certain country, you can do that as well. So there are a lot of use cases for network monitoring tools, many of which require data that is fresh. One of those use cases, one that is close to my heart, is debugging large-scale systems. And our collection system was built with that in mind. So after collecting data for 5 seconds, we spend additional 4 seconds processing this data. And we assure those quick times by making sure that our pipeline is distributed in all cloud zones, so that the data is being processed near where it was sampled. Then after additional 10 seconds, this data is available for your use. So if you're running a scenario on your network, you're able to see relevant VPC flow logs for this scenario in under 20 seconds from when that happened. Now, every GCP project is unique. Some projects are small and have very few VMs, but some projects are large and have very complicated networks. Our pipeline currently is already handling a very large portion of GCP traffic, those belonging to early adopters of VPC flow logs and beta users. So the amount of VPC flow logs currently amounts to millions of records per second, and we experience no performance impact on user compute or network resources. So you should not hesitate enabling VPC flow logs for your network. Keep in mind that enabling those logs may result in substantial amount of traffic, but BigQuery, Cloud Logging, and PubSub are provisioned to handle them if you choose to use them. So as long as you can ingest this data, we are able to provide it. The other project our team is working on is firewall logging. So firewall logging is collected differently than VPC flow logs because the use cases for firewall logging are a bit different than those of VPC flow logs. For VPC flow logs, we wanted to ensure that our users are able to monitor connection behavior over time. For firewall logging, the existence of the connection is more important than its behavior. So firewall logs are generated per firewall event. So every time a connection is created or a connection is denied, a relevant log will be created. To do so, we keep a connection table for every VM, and every time we add a new connection to the table, we will generate a firewall log. For connections that were denied, we will report each time that a connection was attempted in order to enable security use cases. By taking this approach, we are able to guarantee with higher confidence that we will report on every relevant connection. So firewall logs, very similar to VPC flow logs, are reported in near real time, which means that after a connection is created, you're able to see a relevant log in just a few seconds. We guarantee that we can capture up to 100 connections per second for every core that is provisioned for your VM. And we do that without any performance impact on your compute resources. Firewall logs, just as VPC flow logs, are annotated in real time with metadata from your project. And in addition to annotating VM instances and geolocations, we also combine those logs with relevant firewall rules so that you can easily use them. Thank you. With that, I'm going to introduce Vinet, who's going to talk about our partner ecosystem.
Thank you, Yuri. My name is Vineet Ban. I lead security partnerships for Google Cloud, so I work with third-party security companies. So in addition to what Ines and Yuri explained in terms of technology that Google has built, we also work very closely with the leading security companies and logging and monitoring companies to bring solutions to you that are innovative, as well as for solutions that are you currently using on-prem or in your private cloud deployments. You can use the same solutions in Google Cloud as well. So I'll explain the different aspects that will be relevant as you're thinking about logging and monitoring. So in terms of partner solutions, I would not cover all of them today. I will just cover some of the categories and mention only some of the partner names. There is a lot going on with many partners. We don't have enough to cover everybody. So generally speaking, if you think about which categories of partners would be relevant, the first and foremost would be the SIEM vendors. So we have the companies like Sumo Logic and Splunk who have pre-built GCP apps. So it'll be very easy for you to use those apps, ingest the data, and use the visualization tools that you're very comfortable with. So the SIEM vendors would be obviously something you should be looking at. The next generation firewall partners that we have, obviously, when the traffic is flowing through the next gen firewalls, they have a lot of visibility into the traffic, so their visualization tools are very relevant as well. I'll explain a couple of examples there as well. The third category is the compliance vendors, which are more new, born in the cloud kind of companies like Redlock, Dome9, and how they are integrating with VPC flow logs to give you very good visualization solutions and security on top of that. So I'll explain a couple of examples there as well. So there are a broad category of partners that you can look at to give you the visibility as well as more security analytics on top of that. So if you just double-click on the first category, within SIEM partners, Splunk and Sumo Logic are the ones that I mentioned. This is a picture of Sumo Logic, a VPC app that was released very recently. And it gives you great visibility in all the traffic profile, as well as their kind of integrations they have done with Stackdriver and other pieces of Google services. They'll get near real-time dashboards that you can use. So these are pre-built dashboards. Just you can go to Sumo Logic, download them, ingest the data, and the visualizations already exist. So very easy to leverage them. Similarly, this is an example of a Sumo Logic app they have built for firewall logging. So the great innovation that Ines and Yuri shared about all the data that we are collecting, a pre-built app from Sumo Logic, as an example, could be a great place to ingest that data and visualize it in a very easy manner. The next category of partners are the next-gen firewall partners that we mentioned. So this is Palo Alto Networks. We have been working with Palo Alto team for a long time, so this is kind of the integration work we have been doing with them. So all the traffic is flowing through Palo Alto Networks. In this case, the customer wants to use their firewall. So all the rich data that they are collecting and adding to the data that they see would be visible through their dashboard. So Panorama, for example, can also correlate the different things that you are seeing the Palo Alto firewall is saying. So if you're using a Palo Alto firewall, in addition to a SIEM, you could obviously use the Palo Alto interfaces as well. Another example is Checkpoint, another firewall partner that we have. In addition to the logging data, you can also look at how they detect threats and how they are doing an anomaly detection on top of just looking at flows. So this is another example of existing tools that you may be comfortable leveraging on-prem, same tools available in GCP as well. So the third category of partners I wanted to mention was the compliance partners. You guys may have worked with some of them. In this case, this is the Redlock. We've been working closely with them as well. They have done an integration into VPC flow log. So the graph that you see on the chart is the VPC flow log implementation and the visualizations they have built on top of it. So in addition to the visualization, they also do things like detecting crypto mining and other security on top of the data they're collecting. So these are very good tools as well to take a look at as you're thinking about how do I visualize and monitor the network that I'm building. So another example in that category is Dome9, partner for more than a year for us, have done similar flow log integrations. So in their example, for example, you can see the traffic that you're receiving from malicious IPs. So they have an IP reputation list. So bad IP sending traffic to your VPC, you can usually visualize what's going on. So that's just kind of few partner examples I wanted to give. In addition to that, there are some products that Google has built that some of you may have heard about, the Cloud Security Command Center. So this was announced in the March timeframe. It's a visualization framework that gives you visibility into the services that you're running on GCP, provides interesting security insights, and it's a flexible platform where you can change the visualization based on your needs. So this is a great platform to leverage that Google has built. To see the visualization of and get all the telemetry and metering and logging in one place. So very interesting aspect of the command center is it ingests data from Google services, so you can have all the data that Google can see. In addition, you also have partner integrations there. So you could have the partners that I mentioned, Palo Alto Network, Dome9, Redlock. You can have all the data, the security signaling they are seeing also pushed to the command center. So command center becomes your one dashboard to look at the third-party products as well as Google products and get one place of getting all the data. And we will continue to work with these partners, invest more, and move towards automating. Once the data is visualized, how do we help you kind of solve those problems, react to certain threats? So we will continue to work with these partners to make security monitoring easier and easier. So towards the end, we have done all these, integrations. I wanted to share some of the things that we are hearing from partners, very similar to what Ines and Yuri mentioned. What people are really liking about what you should think about is the near real-time capabilities. So seeing it at Google interfaces or partner interfaces, we believe it's kind of very important and differentiated for us. And not having to worry about how much logging resources or how much resources would logging consume is also very helpful. As well as the ASN and other things that we are appending. So I think customers have received it very well. We're getting very positive feedback. Looking forward to hearing more from you guys as well, and continue to build more and more products.